Hello YouTube. I wanted to talk a little bit about Christians being asleep today. I've tried to talk to a few Christians that I thought were well-meaning but possibly misinformed about what's really approaching and what the Book of Enoch and the Book of Revelation really seem to say about the end times, which I sincerely believe that we're entering into. But it's funny, the reaction that I get is basically that I'm crazy, and I've developed a streamlined way of kind of a litmus test of trying to quickly determine whether the person is going to be receptive to the things that I have to say or not, because I found that I'll go through a whole explanation at first, and they'll listen to me because they know that I'm a Christian and they're Christians too, or at least they think they are. So they'll listen to me, and I'll go through my whole explanation, and at the end of it they'll have either fallen asleep or tuned me out. You guys may understand the falling asleep part, but I'll try to make this more interesting. So I got this litmus test that I go through. I first asked them a bunch of questions. Probably one of the first questions I asked them is, hey, do you know there's going to be 2 raptures? And if they look at me kind of puzzled, but don't stop me, I'll continue on. And I said, you know that when the aliens come down and land, those aren't going to be extraterrestrials, they're going to be fallen angels. And I'll go through a series of other little tests, little questions like, did you realize that the Tower of Babel was actually an interdimensional portal? And I'll kind of hit them with these little ideas to kind of whet their appetite to hey, what you're learning in these churches that where you go and sit down and sing some hymns and get up and clap your hands and listen to a sermon and possibly go out and do some Sunday event at a park for the unsaved or the poor. That may not be actually all there is to Christianity. I get really upset a lot of times when I turn the TV on Sundays and look at some of these ministers, like any of them that are on TV. Basically, I've come to find that all of the ministers that are on TV will never talk to you about any of the subjects that I just laid out, those 3, because they're too controversial, and they may actually lead to questions that are political in nature, and that seems to be a big no-no for any of these preachers that you see, these televangelists that you see. I think I'll have to continue because I'm out of film. Hold on. Okay, I'll have to splice this together with the Vitamux. But anyway, all of these big ministers and popular ministers that you can see on TV, and really that you may even hear on some radio, I consider to be 503(c) compromised ministers. 501(c) is part of the federal tax code that allows non-profit organizations to exist, and basically all of these ministers have filed as non-profits so that they can avoid taxes. But what that does is that makes them beholden to the government. So therefore they're all afraid to say anything political or talk about anything political. They'll steer away from that for fear of losing their non-profit status, which from what I understand basically could account for up to a quarter, maybe even a half of their ministry's income that they would lose if they lost that non-profit status and basically be put out of business overnight, should they say something that was controversial or political and made the government mad, and you got some IRS auditor on you, and said, well, you're being political, you've crossed the line, we're going to snatch your 501(c)(3) nonprofit status now, good luck with that. So they're all scared. They won't actually delve into certain issues, and that's against what the Bible teaches. I believe it was the Apostle Paul. He commented on political events happening at the time. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. Because they're a part of life. They're what they're what we're doing. And with all of the political events intertwined with the last times, the end times for Christians and the introduction of the Antichrist is going to be a political event. The Antichrist is going to be a political figure. So how is it that in those times, if you're a 501(c)(3) minister, how is it that you're going to steer clear of any political issues and still be able to teach the truth about the end times and the Antichrist coming? So I have little respect for these TV ministers and any of them really, and any of these ministers that have applied for 501(c)(3) nonprofit status, because they're captured by the government. They're hostage, I suppose. They've been bought and paid for, basically. So anyway, I'm talking Joel Osment, Charles Stanley. Those are two of the biggest ones that come to mind. But any of the rest of them that you see on TV, forget it. I don't want to have anything to do with it. And as a matter of fact, because most churches that I've been to have this whole little church structure where, they have all of these different groups and all of these different little organizations within themselves and these committees and whatever, and they seem to have this whole structure of doing things internally and possibly doing things for the community. But I've never gone into a church where they've really taught any of the meaty, more weighty subjects like, space aliens. What will they be? And if you consider the issue that fallen angels are morning stars, and it's all over the internet that these UFO sightings and what have you throughout the world could be possibly physical in nature, and are probably everything is ruled out that they're anything but hyperdimensional occurrences, because they disappear into nothing and they come into nothing and they violate all the laws of physics. That's spiritual phenomena that we're witnessing in the skies. Those are princes, powers and principalities of the air. That's what the Bible tells us, And if you go back in history, and you can see in a lot of the historical paintings UFOs where they've been painted, and this is back in the 1300s, 1500s, 1600s, So to avoid that issue altogether for churches, I think is a real sin. These ministers aren't teaching us the truth in one of the most critical times that is coming, the end times, the introduction of the Antichrist, when the fallen angels are coming back to earth. It will be in the end times as it was in the days of Noah. And in the days of Noah, you had fallen angels that were down here coming down to earth teaching men and marrying women, and you had the Nephilim. So if we're entering into the end times, that's going to be the same thing that happens. We're going to have fallen angels coming to earth. How are they going to come down and not be labeled as fallen angels? They're going to come down as space aliens, come to save mankind. And they're just getting us ready with all of these sightings and all of this Hollywood propaganda movies about, E.T. and Close Encounters and all of that. They're getting us ready, for their eventual arrival. So for ministers to steer away from just that subject alone and some of the more controversial things, I've just gotten rid of organized religion altogether. I'll do my own research. I don't have to have some minister and deacon structure and what have you to do my Christian duty. Christ said to, first of all, love God and second of all, to love your neighbor as yourself. And that basically sums up the whole of Christianity right there. So I don't need any minister or any church building or organization or group of people to do that. I can do that every day on my own and be a good Christian and just study the Word on my own and do my own research. I don't need any of this 501c compromise propaganda and any of this other stuff in my tithe money to occasionally get stolen. You know, I don't need any of that. I can do charity on my own. I can do ministry on my own. I can do study on my own. And I'll know that, you know, I'm not being lied to or manipulated or there are ulterior motives involved because it's just me. So anyway, I try to talk to some fellow Christians about some of these more controversial issues. Do they know that there's more than one type of angel? That there are cherubim, seraphim, you know, archangels and what have you? Most of the Christians that I talk to, they go to church, you know, and they think they're Christian and everything, but they have no concept or idea of any of this other stuff, which is basic facts that they've never heard before. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to express my disappointment and my frustration in that, hey, we as Christians really need to get out of our lockstep little programs of organized religion and these prosperity ministers that teach you God is going to give you everything, you know, if you just give tithes, you know, and if you, you know, whatever it is that they preach, you know, but you can have a whole bunch of stuff. That's not Christian, you know. Christians are warriors. Christians are soldiers. That's why the Bible tells us to put on the whole armor of God. And the thing about the rapture is that a lot of what is being taught by these prosperity ministers is that we're going to be raptured before the tribulation. Well, that's not biblical. And it doesn't even really make just common sense. If we are soldiers and we're to put on the full armor of God, when the battle breaks out, the general doesn't come and pull his soldiers off the battlefield. That doesn't make any sense. When the greatest battle, Armageddon, comes, the ultimate conflict between God and the devil, and we're going to be taken off of the battlefield before it happens, yet we're supposed to put on the full armor of God. The Bible is our sword. You know, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't agree with what's in here. So those Christians that are believing in a pre-tribulation rapture, where we're not going to have to go through any of it, are actually being lied to by the devil and being gotten rid of and disarmed with prosperity preachings before the battle even starts. I think those may be some of the Christians that at the end time, at judgment, are going to hear, "Get away from me, I never knew you." So, you know, I just wanted to express my frustration with that, and maybe if it reaches some of you other fellow Christians out there, it'll give you pause to think that, hey, you know, maybe I better take a second look at this thing and just dig a little deeper and use my brain more as opposed to listening to some guy in a suit, you know, that's asking for your money. Alright, God bless you guys. I'll talk to you later.